Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4 of season 2 of Being Vulnerable. Got a special guest for you today. I'll let him introduce yourself, but I am Chris, aka Carpal Tunnel, and I'll pass it over to my guest.
Well, hello. Hello everyone. My name's Isaiah, Isaiah Lucero. I'm a, currently also a filmmaker in Colorado, and I'm actually happy to have Chris have me here.
Yeah, happy to have you here. We haven't spoken in a while. I mean, I, kn- the last time I remember actually just even working with you was on the set of Private Eyes. I think that's what
Uh,
it was called at that time, but it's
uh,
Green Glass.
Green Glass Blues, yeah, yeah. We with Will, right?
Yeah, and yeah, work with that was the first time meeting you too.
Yeah, and that we talk about. I mean, I feel like right now, and especially this kind of climate and this current few years. I mean, like I feel like spending dating and friendships has been kind of more hard because we feel like everyone in that area is like kind of pushing away from people, like pushing them away instead of just letting people in, being like, oh no, they're gonna do that, do something hurtful. I just feel like I think like that kind of is still hard for I think it made it hard for men who don't do those things just to even make friendships or to possibly even end up dating the person just makes it harder.
I mean, this isn't a new thing. I've experienced this since it was it was it was like right after Facebook kind of like was starting to go a little bigger, and then when like dating apps started coming out that um
Hear that too.
a lot of the women that were like my friends and I know all they would do is like every time they'd wake up they'd have like 13 dick pics sent to them from random people. I want to say this was like 2015, like I'm
Oh
talking
wow.
about, where like that is when it made it a lot harder for men to find like people who are not the ones sending dick pics and being, very creepy in the way that they're talking to women, just trying to hook up with women. It made it hard for us to stand out because when we would be genuine and, trying to use these dating apps, trying to, make these connections, they still saw us as like they saw all men as this certain type of, all they want is sex, all they want is something from me, and like the barrier being put on, like not allowing new men to come talk to you, you had to kind of be more in a personal, you had to know them personally, rather
Oh
than
yeah. I mean,
meeting someone online. And
and it just makes it I just been noticing it just makes it more harder for like just to talk to the person without even coming on to like make it sounding like, oh, you're coming on to me, or even like I just feel like a lot of people have lost that kind of connection to like to want to connect with others. I personally I struggled with it because, not only being an ADHD or an autistic, I mean socializing is kind of also a little bit of a bit of step, but I've I really kind of try to push myself in that, but it always ends up sometimes backfiring in my face because, they either feel uncomfortable with something I either said or even I did that I didn't even know I did. I mean, I mean, even in the LGBT community, because I mean, like, I'm pansexual to anyone who doesn't know. Um, Even dating like other like people in the community in that community as well, it's kind of also made it hard because also I've got exposed to the hookup culture and grinder and yes, that's the only thing that what all people wanted was sex was there, and it was not a dating relationship at all. It was bad, but like it got to a point for me like I couldn't handle it anymore. I couldn't stand like having like just someone just wanted me for that reason too. But but at the time I just was just being alone. I was tired of being alone. I was lonely. I didn't know what else to do, so I just went the other direction. And it it kind of put a little bit of a damper on dating for me because I every time I try to connect with someone, it was either they either ghost you or they even or they when you say something wrong or they just end up blowing up on you for whatever reason and kind of de deleted all the dating apps I had and I ended up turning to what I thought was gonna give me comfort, but actually it blew up my face there too.
I've been called pansexual, because I'm attracted to emotion. I have to be emotionally attracted to someone to be physically attracted to
Yeah.
someone, and that's why people have said I'm pansexual. Is
I think it sounds more like demisexual if you kind of because
demi.
there's a lot of terms now these days.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah, and that's I could be very emotionally attracted to man, but the physical attraction's not there, so
yeah.
I'm not leaning that way. But the emotional attraction I could have with men is something that is like completely different. But that emotional attraction is what I'm looking for in women is a best friend. My whole life I was taught that the meaning of life was love. So that's all I saw. I was never seeking women for physical, relationships. I was seeking a life partner. But it was so hard to find someone like that. So I'd be going to parties all the time. I'd be using these back when MySpace was a thing. And um,
Yeah, I remember those.
like I connect with all these people and meet them and stuff, but it was not like a loving type of relationship. There'd be a lot of like deceit and a lot of cheating, a lot of things that left me heartbroken. And like I just would keep trying and I just kept getting heartbroken because I was not looking in the right places, at parties and stuff. But that's what I was looking for with love. And then I'd end up just having a physical relationship with someone and then they would like leave me or something and then that's not what I was looking for and like that led to a lot of it led a lot of spite in me to like maybe I didn't deserve love so maybe I'm just a physical thing for people and then I like leaned into that and still looking for love but I got to a point though where it was like I'm only hurting myself more and more by trying to find love rather than it trying to find me, and
Yeah.
to a point where I had to give up relationships for 6 years. Is it like it was like 6 years since I had even kissed a girl, even tried to even hit on a girl or anything because I was tired of that, and I was like finally listening to my dad's wisdom was like, you gotta let love find you. It will happen in that moment. After 6 years of not having it happen, then I finally kind of tried to put myself out there again. And then it was just like I got put right back down into that like dark, sad feeling like I don't deserve love again. Like, and it was like the thing that I finally overcame, but then I got set back into it. And now it's been 2 years since that, and I still haven't. I mean, I've flirted a little with some people, but I'm not. And they're people like in different states or countries, so it's
Yeah.
nothing serious. But it's 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 so hard to even put myself out there. They have to be my friend for me to even trust them to like show them my heart because I'm a very hopeless romantic, so I have strong feelings, and I could fall in love in a day. That's
I could relate to you on that. I mean, like I know I especially when you were just talking about that, like I saw like I felt like a little emotion was building up. I felt like you were kind of close to tearing up a bit. I'm like, trust me, I've been that same way. I mean, I mean, I mean, recently I was talking with someone. We were, we made talked on phone for a while. We texted, and I thought everything was going well. I mean, like part of the thing was, he, uh, he felt very interested in me, and I started really getting interested in him. I mean, um. This guy is also just let everyone know he's a trans guy. I mean, but I'm pretty sure that doesn't matter. But he we just connected on a really good level. And I'm just after our last phone call, we talked about how excited we were to meet for a date for the first time, and how like we were. I talked about like what are things you're comfortable on the date? Like we could go eat lunch, go see a movie, and he was fine with all of it, and even fine with me holding hands with him. And I was like really excited. I was excited, very happy about it. But then just all of a sudden, like the next day, like he texted me saying, I'm sorry, I don't think like I can go on this date with you anymore because I don't feel like I can have that emotional needs that I can give you. And and just to be clear, I mean it's just out of the blue. I just he was so excited to even to meet me, and I was felt the same way to him, and just all of a sudden just do a whole 360 on me and just tell him he can't meet me, he can't provide what I need for me emotionally. I mean, the only thing I give him for that for telling me is that at least then we didn't go on the date, and then we dated after weeks, and then he finally tells me that, and then like instead of me being really hurt down there about more if we were on dates more or starting to see each other more, and he tells me that, then I think I would have been twice as hurt more than I was when he told me over text. And it did put me back in that emotional state. Like, I went back to saying like I feel like I'm cursed. Like I can't even find anyone to like be with or just have that connection with someone. And I'm just because I was just tired of trying to put myself out there. Like it got to that point. I mean, like even I was expressing it to another friend, and even my therapist, they both kind of felt concerned, but they were still trying to keep me hopeful about it. I ended up deleting the dating app I was part of when I met him, and I just couldn't I just couldn't handle it. Like if I was gonna keep sending these likes and just not get nothing back. And it just that's what really sucks about dating apps as well, because because the pictures are what they first see, and if they don't like it, they just get swipe left. This was gonna be my first date in almost like 3 4 years, because my last relationship ended in actually the height of the pandemic of COVID-19. And so it was just definitely hard, but through that time I was just putting myself through a lot of stuff. I was just hoping someone would like me, and even when going to school, bro, I couldn't even. I was trying to hope because there was a lot of people. I just don't know why it goes through my mind like that. It's just so crazy. But
So it did skip over a little part. It wasn't so after 4 years of being single, I was finally ready. I was very lonely, also hitting, my I was like about to hit 30 and I'm like don't have a relationship or anything like that. And I mean, I'm in the pressure from some of my family members always being like, "Have you found a girlfriend yet? Have you found like that
uh,
pressure?" Um, I was finally ready to put myself out there, but it wasn't just for anybody. It was my freshman year at CU Denver. I became best friends with this girl that I was just like me and her were so connected in a way that it felt like she was the perfect one for me, and she hit all the boxes that I want, like musician, a writer, a creative, someone I could
yeah.
make art with, someone who I could be vulnerable with and doesn't judge me, and and so like we were like best friends, and I caught feelings like a good month. I mean, I was attracted to her right away, but like it was like a month after that that I was like
Okay.
starting to fall for her. 7 months later, I finally told her how I felt. Um, and because I was just waited, I wanted to build the friendship to, like that's what I want most in a partner is best friend. And when I finally expressed my emotion, she was like, "It's not you. It's I'm just not ready for anything like that. I'm not emotionally ready and stuff." And she was just like, maybe one day kind of thing. And I mean, it crushed me to a point where I was like, it was hard to even be around her anymore because I was just around her. We're connected so much that she kept making me fall even more. Like I couldn't tell my mind or
Yeah.
my mind couldn't tell my heart not to feel the way I was feeling. So I had a kind of distance. But during that time, she started dating someone else, and it was just like she told me that she wasn't in that mind state to date. But then she hid this dating from me. I had to like find out later when I had to find out through someone, one of her friends, and I was like talking about her, and she was like, "Oh, you're talking about the girl who's dating this guy?" And I'm like, "What? I thought that guy was
Uh-oh.
just her other best friend." And that, like, so like that sent me back to like not trying again.
You're talking to a full-on expert of a person who's been friend zoned for so many times in his life. And just also seeing like it was just very, very hurtful to like seeing them like move on, like see him with another guy, or especially in high school, like um there's this one girl I'll call her G. She actually, me and her, we connected on a like really good level in high school. It was like I think like freshman, sophomore year. It was me, her, and two other friends that we came at like a little clique. And even though she expressed like I was about to tell her, like I've started to have like because me and her connected so well. I found out she did have a boyfriend, and she confessed that, but she said she was in kind of the thing process of like having multiple boyfriends. And um the thing was I was so blinded by my crush. I told her I didn't care. Like, I mean, when I finally confessed, it's like, I don't care if you have another boyfriend. Yes, I'll probably be jealous, but I told her I still want to be with you. And but it was one example where like she she did friend zone me, but for the right reasons, because she cared about me so much that she didn't want to hurt me like that. And but even though it hurt, even though I know she had other boyfriends, she dated another classmate of mine. And and this was a guy that bullied me for the first 2 years of high school, and it was just another story. But he made his kind of like he's made his effort to kind of like make me jealous. And I did get jealous. And it was super hard to see her with other guys, but even though she told me she had multiple boyfriends, I was like I was so blinded by the love and crush I had for her that I was willing to wave that, not see that red flag. But she told me straight to my face, like, I'm not, even though I have multiple boyfriends, and I see you have feelings for me, but I am not willing to hurt you like that. And I think it's gonna hurt you more than me because you're not only, and this was a line I always got, you're always the nice guy. You're just the nicest guy. And it really did sting a lot that time. And it was it was very super hard even just to see her with the guy that was supposed to, well, totally I wanted to punch his face. But when I graduated and over time, like I see it, and we were just I think it was a good thing she put me there, because otherwise if we even tried that, I think we probably would have never reconnected like years later. It was very, very difficult at the time, but I see it now. Like, I was blinded by my love and crush for her, and she was just doing it to protect me, because she knew I was a good friend to her, and she didn't want to hurt me like that or break my heart. And I'm starting to see I was like I'm more grateful for that happened. But but over time, yeah, like it just came but after that it just came my stream of like of bad luck of being friend zoned so many times, and I was including up to almost today just feeling like I kept thinking to myself that, you know, I'm probably cursed. Because I even tried, like, because a lot of people told me, like, your father said to you, like, you know, love will come to you. I've been told that. And I've also been told, you know, like, or heard and seen in practice, like, you know, you gotta find it, you gotta push it, you know, I mean, you gotta work for it. I'm like, so I kept getting a lot of the mixed signals to find love. So I'm like, I've tried both. And I'm like, I'm so tired of either one getting my feelings hurt for trying, or two for feeling lonely to not have someone to hold or talk with that night, you know?
Yeah. And the older you get, harder
Yeah,
harder
and
it gets. I can say though, I mean, at first it was hard for me to do it to take, years off of even trying or anything like that. But what I needed to do is I needed to learn to love myself during that time. And so I needed to find a reason to love myself. Like that's when I got back into school and started music, and I was like, I was finally on a right path that it was like I'm making myself a lovable person now that someone can see. Because I mean, I got to the darkest point of my life where I was an addict and all this stuff, and it all came from me trying to find love and just me always getting heartbroken that I was drowning my sorrows in alcohol, and like I was doing whatever drug it took to kill me faster because I could not live being alone. Um, and like me taking that time to find out who I really was, because that was another thing is I didn't really know who I was. I mean, and because society and just the whole toxic masculinity had changed me into someone that I was not. I am been called, I forget what they call it, superlatives. I was voted the sweetest guy in the sweetest guy in my class. I was the nicest guy, and all the women that I would like that were like my friends, and I would like fall for them and all that stuff. The girls who would that had hearts to actually treat me right were the ones who were attracted to me. They were attracted to the men who were actually doing them wrong. They were attracted more to the bad guy,
yeah.
not the sweet guy. But the girls that were attracted to the sweet guy were the ones who would just take advantage of you, knowing that you'll forgive them if they cheat on you, knowing that you'll still be there, knowing if you find out that they have two other boyfriends, which has actually happened to me, that you're going to be the one that they could actually still stay with because you're not going to hold it against them and you're going to give them forgiveness and give them another chance. Yeah, my just this the story I'll talk about. Girl I was with from my junior year through my senior year of high school. She actually gave me like I didn't know her real name. She gave me a fake name that I was actually like the whole time I knew her as one name, but that wasn't even her name. It wasn't even her middle name. No one even called her that, but that was what she had given me so she didn't get found out within her group. And it was I was taking her to prom, and it was like a week before prom. I called up her phone because I think it was something to do with the corsage. I wanted her size. It was something to do with prom, and a man answered and was like, "Why are you calling my girlfriend?" He started, and I was like, "Wait, why are you answering my girlfriend's phone?" And he was like, "I've been with her for 4 years. And I was only with her for two, so I was the one that she was cheating on her boyfriend with."
Oh boy.
And even after that, I still tried to take her to prom, but she kind of was like, "You ruined my life. This was my this guy was rich, I guess, or something." I basically ruined her relationship with that guy, and she held that against me. And so I ended up going to prom alone she took it back because there was so many times where she would just like not answer and I'd get stood up and all this stuff. And then she'd always have this excuse and all this stuff. But no, really, she was with that guy. So she would lead me on so many nights. I mean, one time I even drove to her house and I was waiting outside her house for her. She was supposed to be just coming back from McDonald's and she hadn't showed up and I was waiting. And then the cops got called on me and I got a ticket for loitering in front of because it was a rich kind of neighborhood. I was, Cadillac brown person parked in front of this house for like an hour. I found out later from one of her friends though that she was the one who called the cops on me because her boyfriend was about to show up and she had to get me out. Like she had to get me out of the neighborhood, so she called the cops on me for being outside of her house
Oh, jeez.
and said I was like a stalker or some shit. But I still forgave her every single time she would stand me up like that.
Yeah, damn, bro. That's just that is just messed up. I mean, like, I probably won't have something similar like that. I mean, like, it's kind of one of the reasons I didn't like come. I actually left school. It was that, I didn't know I was making so many people like uncomfortable with some of the actions I didn't know I was doing. And um so sorry, this one's a little hard to talk. It was just one of the hardest things I had because I didn't know what was going on because there was times I was s- mostly oblivious to the thought like it was completely normal in my brain and but I didn't know I was hurting our people or making them feel like they couldn't be around me alone and that I mean like apparently I kind of figured like where most of it came from certain people and but I was confronted by one of our mutual instructors who stood by me to get through the semester. Um he uh he told me what happened at a lot of the certain classmates that were um between like where they were still around between the 18 and to 20, I think it was, felt a little uncomfortable that I was making advances towards them. I mean, it it was still kind of hard to take in, but do so do know like I am learning to do a lot of things in therapy now. Um, it was kind of hard to hear that, I thought I was not, I thought I was just being me, being kind of flirty, but apparently it got looked the wrong way. And and yes, I did try to make advancements towards dating, but like it wasn't that I was not forcing them to. I mean, a lot of them were didn't tell me that they were uncomfortable. They decided just to tell an instructor. And uh, that day I was confronted. It was after a therapy session too. And it became more, apparently it became more that I was getting confronted with more people, like being more open to telling the instructor that I was doing this. But just a lot of the time I was just oblivious to it because I thought it was just being me. I thought it was somewhat flirty. I mean, but it it was very hard to hear that, I was being confronted with all of this. A bunch of people came forward, and I knew some of them who they were. When I was being confronted, I just felt like I was one. I felt, let me put it this way. When I came to the classroom, it was actually for one of the, I was late to class, and I did kind of feel a shift in the small classroom change, like I felt a little shift, like some of the guy classmates that were my friends noticed. I kind of noticed how they were treating me differently, and they uh they weren't sure how to confront me, but they were definitely wait till after class. And when they did, two of them stayed behind, and then the instructor told me about what was going on, and then I I felt mostly bombarded, confused, and hurt because uh one and angry too. I was angry not only at the people who were telling I knew who were telling this, but I was also angry at myself. I
Yeah.
I attended, and it was just very hard because now, because whatever was said and they told and I was being confronted, now I knew, like, as I left, like on that as I left that day, it was just that I knew, like, I could not walk into these same classrooms or be in the halls like that ever again that feel the same. Because I felt, even though I probably didn't notice, but I probably felt the eyes of judgment just glaring down my forehead. And I told our instructor that, like, I can't do this. I can't come to class anymore. So that's why I ended up with all these accusations. I ended up dropping one class. I I didn't go to the classes that much, but he was willing to help me at least get through the semester to pass it with what classes I had left. So it was kind of more of it felt like a banishment per se. And I know for certain people, I know you probably already know a few, whoever told you, but it was not my intention, but apparently it got too far that, like, it was not, it just was so hard to, like, be around the same door, like, not only not the dorms, but the entire campus in general. Like, I generally avoided everyone, and I mind you, the day after, because I had an exam the next day, and I couldn't sit in the same classroom as everyone. So since I had accessibility access, um, I had to call an emergency saying, like, I can't do it. Take the test, the exam in the classroom. Can I take it somewhere else? And gladly they did. It was last minute though. When they were grabbing my exam, like, I just saw a couple of my old friends, I should say now, just kind of glare at me, like it was like caught a couple of glimpses of them feeling like, like maybe it felt like, like just anger or betrayal on their part too, feeling hurt. And and of course I wanted to say sorry to a lot of them. And but what was worse, that after I took the exam, which oddly enough I passed, because I was in my head the entire time. I just I just went straight back to my dorm. Um, went back to the room I had, locked the door, just crawl right. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just crawled into my bed and just stood there all day, and I bawled because I knew I lost everyone, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I was mostly angry, I was sad, I even was on kind of like little kind of self-harm, but just hitting myself in my head. Like,
Yeah.
telling myself stupid, stupid, or like, why did you let that happen? And and all I wanted was just, of course, a genuine friendship and possibly to blossom into a romance. But it apparently a lot of the time it went the wrong way, and I was oblivious to it, thinking I wasn't hurting anyone. And apparently I was hurting people, making them uncomfortable, and it came out wrong. I did I did wish I could apologize to them because I know a lot of them, as soon as like the week of that happened, a lot of them just blocked me or unfollowed me on everything. And that was more now when I felt more alone. And the instructor kind of advised me, like after I was going through the semester, maybe that I should take a break for a while and maybe time will heal wounds. And and I thought it was best. And I ended up leaving the dorm mid-semester, and but I eventually was still parts classes were still going on. It was like the last 2 weeks, and I finished my film what I had, and I just only came to campus to do work or whatever I needed and just left because I figured at the same time I felt like no one wanted me there.
I mean, that's such a rough thing to deal with, man. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. When I heard about this, I specifically was like, I don't believe that this, because I had known you. I had saw your sensitive soul and everything, and I knew that you were very like an introverted, and like if something might have just been misinterpreted, which I've had so much. Because I mean, I'm an ADD person too. I'm on the spectrum as well, and sometimes I will say stuff that is misinterpreted completely, and like I, because I'm not thinking about it before I say it, it just comes out, and like I'll get into one of these stories here in a second, but I never thought I never thought that you were guilty of what they people had been, I guess, saying. I never heard from anyone specifically. It was when I was looking for the leaders for the People of Color Creative Alliance. I wanted you to be one of the leaders. I think I even tried to reach out to you at that time. During this time too, before I knew this, I ran into you outside of the cafeteria by the dorms, and I tried to say hi to you, and I knew that you just didn't want to talk to anybody, and you were just like, I only recognize you by your NF hoodie too. Like I saw the NF hoodie and I was like, that's Isaiah. I haven't seen him in such a long time. I wanted to come up to you and talk to you about NF, and um I could tell you were going through some stuff, and I was just like, oh, he's not one, like I never took that personally. I don't even know if you remember that time, but I never took it personally.
I
Like I just
I
thought,
think I think I remembered you saying hi, and I did try to say I did wave, but like I was, yeah, I felt like if I didn't, I think I didn't talk to anybody. I just felt like I felt like I was more protecting myself because of course, I was at the same time, and if I stepped on campus, I think I was also afraid to be confronted, or if I will,
oh,
or I was afraid that, I was also more afraid of the looks that I noticed two people gave me that I knew. Um, they kind of gave me like just kind of like hurtful looks, like kind of almost like mix of disgusted and kind of like a little bit of anger, like looks. It wasn't like a full on death glare or anything like that, but it felt like that, like, like maybe like it was a look saying like, why the hell are you still here? And then yeah, I kept to myself a lot because I mean, I felt like it was the only way I could protect myself. Like I've lost really good friends that day, and really and awesome friends too. I thought like would I would probably have like in like a lifetime, like possibly, as we graduated. Um, but that was the only thing I do. I just had headphones on, just whatever. If I needed to eat, I went to eat. If I just needed to do something on campus, and I just went back to my dorm and just I wanted just to like feel like that was like the only safe space for me because yeah, like I said, I felt like I was afraid of getting all the judgmental looks and or if I was going to be confronted. And I was even at times like I thought like I was even tempted to reach out to at least like say I'm sorry, and um but I think it was like yeah, I felt like the shame and anger kind of held me back from it because I I wanted to kind of part of me wanted to kind of lush out at them like why did you leave me? Why did you leave me when I was like this or turn your backs on me? And at the same time they would have said something like they probably would have got off their chest. And um I think the biggest thing I'm having trouble with since still going to therapy for, I mean, been in therapy for half my life, um, is trying to not only let go of that anger for them, but kind of like that anger and kind of self-hate for me because in my mind, like, of course I want to reach out to them. I want to show them I changed. And at the same time, like, with uh, me having now a big paid set coming up, I've kind of wanted to be I kind of wanted to be a little petty bitch and say like, this is what's going on for me, you know, kind of like throwing something good I'm doing in their faces.
Yeah.
But my therapist pointed out like, well, then what does that point out? Like, that's gonna only point out to, like you're just using that set so you could just get back at them. And she made a really, really great point. And I wanted to start looking at this that this was a big opportunity for me. One of my scripts is getting made, and I was very happy. And of course, my it's a short story my nephew wrote, and I just turned it into script form. And he's very excited that it's getting made. He's going to star in it, and it's still taking me a little bit, but I'm starting to see it more like, this is a great opportunity for me. I don't need to say like, hey, this is like, or to be a petty asshole and say like, I'm doing this and what you guys are doing.
Yeah.
Um, I'm still having that hard time too because it's healing and everything trying to like it's just a big ass journey and I'm still learning
Yeah.
and I just even if I don't know if they watch or not, but I mean, I just do want to say I'm very sorry for all the things I did, and if it came out the wrong way, it was not my intention. And um, it always, even though yes, there was times I wanted to, for some of you, I did like you, but I think I gave it out and misinterpreted it the wrong way that made you feel more uncomfortable, and just hopefully, I can. I think that's just right now. I just hopefully I could say that they could know at least something.
Yeah. I know it, and something like that is so because it came out of a positive feeling that you had. You like somebody. That's a positive feeling. Your intention was never anything negative. And yeah, like the story I was talking about, or
Yeah.
I was gonna say, so My last semester in college, that was an RA still, and I started connecting with one of my residents on like a level that I was interpreting as she was flirting with me and all this stuff. And as an RA, you have to kind of keep that little barrier, but
Yeah.
if something does happen, you just have to let your boss know, and then you're no longer their RA. Someone else will be their RA and whatnot. That happened to me, but so everything was going so good in the community. Everyone loved me. All my residents loved me. Like every time I walked in, everyone would be like Chris, and everyone would be all excited to see me and all this stuff. And um, on one of our really great nights, it was a karaoke night. Um, and the night before, I literally like hung out with this girl for like 3 hours, just in the common room. Me and her just sat there talking. So like I felt this connection. I thought she was feeling it too. After that karaoke night, she was like, "Oh, I'll stay and help you pack up all your stuff and everything, all all the equipment." So she stayed on her own choosing to help me, and we were hitting it off again. And something happened where she like she was showing me like a little rash on her hands that she was having from eczema, and she put her hands out, and I went to go see him, and then she put her hands on mine, and I kind of held her hand for like I don't know, like 2 seconds, and then all of a sudden, just her vibe changed. I could tell. I was like, oh, that made her feel uncomfortable. But my interpretation of everything that was leading up to that was this this was flirting to me. She put her hands on mine, and I held her hand, and she ended up telling all of the people in the community that I basically was inappropriately holding her hand and like unwantedly. Um, I didn't know if she told everyone at that time, but I had messaged her the next day, and I was like, "We need to talk." And then because I'm like, if she did feel that comfortable and this goes out to, I could lose my job, I could lose my school semester and all this stuff, and it was like I was beating myself up, like, oh, I made her feel uncomfortable, and so when I did apologize, she was like, yeah, that was not okay, all this stuff, and she kind of like yelled at me for a while. And I was able to apologize, but I kind of had to in a way to try to mend this. She forgave me, but she was just like, I don't want you ever touching me again. Like so I was just like, okay, and then every time I would go into the common room like after that, everyone like no one would be like Chris anymore. Everyone would just be like giving me that look like this sexual predator and all this stuff. And it like ruined the complete dynamic of that I had with all my residents. And then like even when I did karaoke nights after that, I was kind of like everyone would ignore me in a way. Like and then they would just like they didn't want me there. They wanted me to throw the karaoke night, but they didn't want me there for the karaoke nights. And then I had to deal with that for like a couple months, and with all of my residents that I'm supposed to be overseeing and protecting, and I'm having to have these meetings with all of them just being very closed off with me, everyone thinking I was just this, even though she was the one who put her hands on mine. Like the whole aspect of me, like how could I beat myself up for holding her hand in a way where I just put my thumbs up on her hand. It's all I did. But I understood I made her feel uncomfortable and I felt so bad. Like, I mean, this all led to some of like the most darkest, loneliest feelings I had as an RA because I was already ostracized by all the other RAs because I was the older one that a lot of people just did not respect and everything. That led me to start self-harming myself. Because it was like I felt alone on that campus, and I was an RA. I was supposed to be a leader. This was also what I was leading Haka and everything too. Like I was so lonely at that time that, and I hated myself for what I did. That I would, I mean, I during graduation, I had you can't see it because I had my robes on, but my arms were wrapped up in tape, and I was bleeding through the tape, bleeding through the robes because I sliced my arms completely up the day before graduation. Like I just in that lonely space, I found this like hating myself so much and hating myself by the way people were looking at me because like you know it's, you don't want anyone to look at you like that.
And I feel you there. I mean, I thought like, especially that after what happened, like I even thought about just making myself disappear. Like just like it was like almost like it was like around January, like winter. It was cold. And um and of course like there was a lot of like I don't know, God forbid, a lot of things going on in downtown. I literally thought about just walking around downtown, just probably just let something happen, you know? And I literally thought just, well, then in my head it was like, well, then if they well, in my head maybe if like they notice something happened to me, maybe like they'll start forgetting about that or now caring about that situation. Like I literally thought about just walking around downtown, just nothing but my clothes I had and just one jacket and just walk around and it it literally felt it was one of the darkest things I thought of, like, you know, maybe something would happen if like someone jumps me, like, and probably like my mind was like, why would I care if they're gonna no one was gonna notice them even gone or something happened. Um,
I
I go ahead.
I was just say I've done that before where it's like I different moment, but I was like walking out into busy parts of traffic, just standing there waiting for like I know they're going at certain 45 miles per hour. If I get hit, I probably will die. And when that happened, people were stopping. And then I was yelling at them like, please hit me. And I was just so like the fact that people weren't driving through me, it was just like that made me angry because no one was, yeah. Because in your mind, it's like I'm not taking my own life if someone else takes it,
Yeah.
and it makes you feel a little more less weak, I guess, if if you're not taking your own life, if you're trying to have someone take it from you.
And yeah, I even literally thought like just because even I even had another group of friends there on the campus. I thought like everything was going really well before I was asked to leave campus. Um, um, I was part of this kind of church group for a little while, and of course, like a lot of things got misinterpreted there again, and they asked me to stay away from them. And when I had a tragedy happen in my family, I tried to talk to them, but like, you know, they wouldn't even let me be there for the events just to have some kind of, you know, comfort in a way. Because I had my brother-in-law commit suicide and and eventually you know it's still there around the time because I was peeking around that in my head too, um but dealing with that and of course dealing with all being ostracized and not being able to have friends was kind of felt more of the darkest moments of my life. And like I had no friends to comfort me, none. And a lot of the times you know, I either stayed in my dorm or I didn't leave, but when I had to leave, I either left to either eat or to take care of stuff for the last thing to ha final projects and stuff like that. I'm very thankful and grateful for the instructor that helped me out and letting me be able to finish and not be able to like not be able to like convince me to let me finish instead of just letting me drop everything and just go because I that's what I was tempted to do. Like I like on that exam I was telling you about, it was for cinematography. Um, I was literally telling him like, you know what? I'm not gonna. I told him like, cause how I was feeling, I was angry, I was scared. I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna come because what? I mean, why not? No one's. I'm gonna be surrounded by people who's gonna just give me looks, and might as well just fail the dang class. And I mean, otherwise, he convinced me to keep going in a sense. So I was very thankful for him, and I know I don't give him enough credit, but he was kind of the voice saying just keep going with what's left, and hopefully when time goes on, just you can come back. And I've deliberately thought of coming back to school. It's just I don't know if I can go through, even though what I've learned through therapy, I don't know if I can go through with another, not only for a stressful semester, but for stressful just trying to get to know people again and being then having that like or running to familiar faces if they're gonna even acknowledge me or even just still ignore me, you know?
I mean, from what I heard from your story is like you never even got to tell your story. They only took the one side of the story and they never even heard your side or never even considered, especially your friends, which is like the thing that like the minute you told me that, like I felt betrayal. Like good friends will talk to you before they come to conclusions, you know? I mean, that's it's wrong that they did not even talk to you. They just completely jumped to the conclusion of that. That's wrong, man.
I guess the final thing I'll say is just that if it wasn't for like with that, like I mean I'm as for love goes, like I'm still trying to find that way to love myself. I I've still struggled with it when I feel like I found it and then I struggle again. Um it was just it's just a hard road for me to find a way to love myself to finally get that person,
Yeah.
but I am still trying. And but at the same time I'm like with this latest person just turning doing a whole 360 on me, I just feel like I'm done, you know, and I'm just having this heavy debate in my head.
Yeah. It's a constant battle. I still battle it, man. It's a constant battle. Where do people find you? Can
Yeah, fight. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. I already 3 films on it, all of them from film school. One script I personally wrote, one I produced, and the documentary I did on a local restaurant that's been open for over 60 years. And I highly recommend you check out that documentary and check out the restaurant. That's pretty good. Unfortunately, it had its federal location close
uh,
lately, so what's left is the Wadsworth near Colfax and Wadsworth in Colorado. Highly recommend go there. Keep it open because it is a really great restaurant. So free publicity for that restaurant. And it's called the Taco House.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you being here, being so vulnerable, being open to talk about these things.
Yeah, me too, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Well, everyone, thank you for joining this episode of Being Vulnerable. I'm Chris, aka Carpal Tunnel, and we will see you next time on Being Vulnerable. Stay safe out there, y'all.